This is a very strange question here on Ask Huda. It's from Brother Shamsuddin. He says, in Sahih al-Bukhari it is mentioned that once the Prophet ﷺ was asked when he was passing by me, and the person's name is Abva, can we attack the sleeping enemy if their children and women can be hurt as a result? And the Prophet answered, they belong to them. He says many Muslim brothers are using this to justify terrorist acts by blowing up women and children, using this hadith as an argument. My question is, how do you justify not these terrorist acts using the Quran and the Sunnah?
Well, I personally don't know this hadith. So, talking without knowledge is forbidden in Islam. This is my ignorance. To me, I do not know a hadith in this context, like was mentioned. But the Prophet ﷺ, in a number of hadiths, told us that whatever happens to the people, for example, if an army, he was talking once about an army invading or wanting to invade the Kaaba, and then Allah Azza wa Jal made the earth swallow the whole army. And Aisha asked about those who were with them, such as women, poor people, workers, and children. The Prophet said, ﷺ, that on the Day of Judgment, they will be resurrected in accordance to their intentions. So they would not be included with the aggressors or those disbelievers. Having said that, I'm not sure if this hadith is in the Bukhari or not. As I said, it's my ignorance. I have to go back and look at it. But generally speaking, there is a difference between what is known as collateral damage and something that is intended. The Prophet ﷺ, whenever he sent an army, he would advise them not to kill an elderly, not to kill a woman, not to kill an infant, not to kill someone who's worshipping Allah in their synagogues or in their churches or any place designated for worship. So this is the Islamic teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. It's different than if someone would to attack a city and collateral damage would take place. So nowadays, people in warfare, they would bomb and they would, throw shells and rockets and so on from these new modern weaponry. And you cannot pinpoint those who you want to kill. So children might fall as a collateral damage. Women may suffer from this. In Islam, you can't have people's hands tied. Having said that, we're talking about legitimate warfare. But if you talk and try to cascade this down to suicide bombings or to terrorist attacks as it's happening now, this is unacceptable in Islam. One would argue, why not? If you say that collateral damage is permissible, what's wrong in blowing a building, a high-riser, or blowing a mall and killing everyone in it? Well, the problem is that they are not our enemy. They are not soldiers. They are not killing the Muslims. You are killing civilians. You are killing a doctor, you're killing an engineer, you're killing a woman, a mother, a daughter. All of this is not acceptable in Islam. So it's a different story altogether. When you attack an army, a base, or when you attack a city that have already attacked you, than when you hide and deceive people and you blow yourself, killing yourself, committing suicide, and killing innocent people in the process.
Okay, our next question is from Mariam, and she's from the Philippines. She says, I newly embraced Islam just last month of August, and she says, and now for 4 months I've been working here in the UAE as a sales lady. She says she wants your advice if her reason for working abroad is justified. And she give us a scenario. She says, I was married to a Bangladeshi man, and last September he went back to Bangladesh. The divorce happened. She wants to know if after 1 month of marriage he went back to his country, he sends financial support only for her daughter. He doesn't send financial support to her. She wants to know if it's your advice in terms of her working abroad is justified as a single mother.
Well, this is again a question depending on her welfare. To me, I don't think that she will be safe being alone in a strange country, working as a saleswoman, meeting a lot of men, mixing with them. She would be an easy prey for a lot of the predators, working there. And the husband or the ex-husband is obliged to pay financial support only for her child. She's not his wife anymore, so there's no connection between them. She is only to receive financial support for the child as long as she's not breastfeeding the child. The child, I presume, is a bit old.
4 years old.
Is 4 years old. Khalas, then she has no support from him at all. She is not susceptible for such support. And she has to weigh the pros and cons of staying in that country and in leaving back to the Philippines. I presume that if she can find a suitable job where she works only with the same sex, with women, and she's not exposed to men, and her job is halal, then alhamdulillah, being in a Muslim country and enjoying a job that is permissible is a blessing from Allah.
And she says, asking your advice as well, that for me, is it good for me as a Muslim that I work abroad and leave my daughter with my parents back home?
It depends. If her parents are Muslim, which I doubt they are, because she embraced Islam like 4 or 5 months ago. So I believe that she comes from a Catholic family or a newborn, and her parents are still following the same religion. So taking her daughter to live with her grandparents who are Christian and who would probably take her to the Mass every Sunday and do their prayers before they go into bed and celebrating Christmas and New Year's and Easter, definitely this is not something advisable.
Okay, we have a question here from Brother Muhammad from Sierra Leone, and he says, I'm presently working in Iraq. The meat and chicken that we're eating, we don't know if it's slaughtered according to the rites of Islam. He says, because I'm working in a military base. So brothers, what are your advice? Thank you for your time.
If the meat is coming from Iraq itself, it's halal. Because the majority of Iraqis are Muslim. So their meat is considered to be halal. My problem is that he's working in a military base. And he should not be concerned with the meat he's eating. He should be concerned with the salary he's taking. He's not allowed to work in such a military base, because he would be considered taking allies with the enemies of Islam. Therefore, I suggest that he looks for another job.
Okay, we have a question here from Brother Sayyid. He says, I want to know, can woman go to the masjid to pray the janazah prayer of her husband?
It is forbidden in Islam to visit graveyards for women. But there is nothing wrong at all in performing funeral prayer or janazah prayer, as the women of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, offered the prayer, the janazah prayer, over the Prophet ﷺ when he died. And this is permissible, and it's part of the sunnah.
Okay, we have another question here from Zana from Nigeria. It says, I need your advice to know how to promote Islam in my state among women in Nigeria. How do I promote Islam amongst women in Nigeria? She's a sister.
And I believe that she is asking about promoting Islam to Muslims or to the non-Muslims.
To non-Muslim.
To non-Muslims.
I think she's asking it based on the ability of how can a woman do da'wah to non-Muslim women.
Well, it's very easy. I believe that the best form of da'wah is your conduct, your behavior, your ethics, the way you treat others. So if every one of us